rate in the United States has fallen to its lowest level in more than a century. According to a recent report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, around 3.6 million babies were born last year. That is down from 3.75 million in 2019. In 2007, the birth rate was much higher, around 4.3 million. One analyst says the study points to a worrying future for the country. We go now to Roger Severino, Vice President of Domestic Policy at the Heritage Foundation. Roger, great to have you back on. Let's talk about these low birth rate numbers and what they say to you. How concerning is it?
Well, Elon Musk said the greatest threat to our civilization is not AI, it's not climate change, it is demographic collapse. And we're at the precipice. We're at 1.6 in terms of total fertility. We need to be at 2.1 or above to replace ourselves, and we're not doing that. And it's a crisis. It's a slow-moving crisis that no industrialized country has been able to really solve. Hungary has been one that has dedicated tremendous resources to increase the birth rate, but everywhere else in the West, we're seeing this decline, and I think it is symptomatic of a loss of hope. We are losing so much hope. It's a society in many ways of a culture of despair. And if you live in a culture of despair, then you don't have hope in the future and you don't get married and have children. And at the Heritage Foundation, we're doing everything we can to come up with innovative policy solutions to reverse this trend, to restore America and the West as this beacon of hope, of vibrancy, of dynamism. And that includes family, marriage, and reproducing, frankly.
Yeah, and Roger, I know you recently said America faces no greater long-term threat to its economic, military, and cultural well-being than these low birth rates. Talk to us more about that.
Well, here's a sobering statistic. In 3 out of 4 American counties, there are more recorded deaths than births. That, by definition, is unsustainable. We have to have something worth passing on, and we have this genius of the American experiment that is at the risk of literally disappearing a few generations from now, because we have, first, a decline in marriage and a decline in birth, and that stems from a lot of terribly misguided policies going back from the Great Society that replaced the married family unit with Uncle Sam as a provider. And we've discovered that Uncle Sam is more like an absentee father. He should not be a replacement to a married mom and dad raising kids. So we've seen the marriage rate decline from about 76% in 1970 to around 31% now. And people are delaying marriage, not getting married, delaying births. Whereas before, we used to have marriage and child rearing as the cornerstone of the life. That was the American dream. You start there. Now it's been seen as some sort of luxury good that is a capstone once you get everything else out of the way. And that's backwards. And we got to get government out of the way to make sure they're not penalizing marriage anymore, and restore this culture of vibrancy and hope in the future. And it begins with marriage and kids.
Yeah, and Roger, I was going to ask you, I mean, what do you think can be done to reverse these trends and sort of this mindset, and also better promote families and help to support them?
Sure. We're looking at innovative things like child and family tax credits, making sure we have more options for working mothers, for mothers who stay at home, educational choice, removing as many barriers as possible to things like work requirements in a welfare state. Often we have this thing where government has been the provider, where we've seen in previous administrations and the current one, where they see the government as the solution, that we're gonna have you be the father. No, government is half the problem. Now, we should look into solutions where government incentivizes marriage and family formation. But right now we're in the position where government is penalizing it and saying you're better off if you don't get married, if you don't have kids, because we're going to give you some benefits or give you tax penalties if you do get married. Those have to stop. And once that is pushed out of the way, we could look at innovative policy solutions to incentivize marriage, like countries like Hungary have implemented. They put their money where their mouth is, and they've been one of the few to actually reverse their declining birth rate.
And Roger, do you think that this will happen here in the U.S.? I mean, do you think they'll put some of these policies in place in the federal government?
We're hopeful. It depends if there's a change in administration, whether they will be open to these policies, but you have to value family and children in the most traditional sense, because we know that's the one that works the best. And we've moved so far away from that as a culture that we need a lot of rebuilding to do culturally to say we have to value the married mother and father and their kids in the home, because we know that's what leads to the best of human flourishing. The safest place in the womb is in the womb of a married mother, and the most dangerous place is in the womb of a single unmarried mother. So if we address the marriage rate, we're also going to address the abortion rate. And again, this is about restoring hope to the nation, because there's something about the American experience that is worth passing on for future generations. So we got to restore the confidence in the American dream and make sure our government policies align. And with the new administration, I'm hopeful we could achieve that.
Roger, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about all of this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.